I want to talk about weight neutral approach and why that actually matters. If you notice in this group, we don't talk about weight loss because I take a weight neutral approach. So as a dietitian, I decided to use this model, and I want to explain why. I strongly believe that weight is not a predictor of health, and I'm not one to measure success based on your body weight. So you're going to see in this group that we don't talk about weight as a measure for success or health. And I just want to explain a little bit today why that is and why I chose to use this model in my practice, in my approach. So culturally, and when I say culture, a lot of times in this group, I'm talking about diet culture. So culturally, we're led to believe that diets lead us to believe that if we just work harder, that we can look however we want. We can have the body that we want. And I think, when you think about this, it's really a dangerous mentality to have. It can lead to really extremes in eating and exercise habits. When you think about it, we honestly have a lot less control over what we weigh than we're led to believe. So our genetics largely influence our set point weight and our set point weight range. It's not just one weight. We talk about this a lot in the inside the app in the program, but our set point weight is a range. So, and it can fluctuate. So it's not just one number, but it's the weight range that your body is programmed to function optimally at. And so we all have a different set point weight range that our body wants to perform its best at. And the BMI chart, for example, is just really unhelpful tool that unfortunately healthcare uses a lot, because it basically tells us that if we don't fit into this really narrow box of like 18 to 25, then we're not normal. We're in another category. And I think it's honestly insane to think that we all are going to fit into this box. And we can look around us. You can look around, you can go outside, you can see on TV, there's people of all different shapes and sizes. So body diversity, it's real. It's a thing. We all come in different shapes and sizes. You can look at your family members and kind of get an idea of how you're going to look, because you can see it. You can physically see it, right? In the genetics of our family members. There's a huge genetic component when you look at families and people's body shapes and sizes. So obviously, we're designed this way. We're designed to be diverse, and we're all created to be unique and different. So to think that we have to fit in this measurement in a tool, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work for me, and it doesn't work, I think, for a lot of people. When they figure this out, it's like freedom, If you want more of an explanation of why I don't trust the BMI, because I could literally have a whole entire coffee chat on that one thing right there. It's not an accurate predictor for health, but just put BMI in comments, and I can point you in some general directions to kind of research it on your own. We also have an entire workshop on this inside the app. When we talk about why diets don't work, we go into the BMI a lot more. But let's talk about this idea of obesity today. I think it's important that we talk about that when we're talking about this. It's like you see it as in the media as like a major health issue, a health crisis. But I do want to say this, like little progress has been made in terms of treatment or prevention. You just always hear about it being this big crisis. And the typical recommendation for this, hi, we got some more people on. Let me know if you have any questions along the way. Thank you for joining me. We're getting into this idea of obesity now, the obesity crisis. You'll hear about it on the media a lot. Typically, what you'll find is a recommendation for this is to diet, to lose weight, but no research has been found in terms of dieting and weight loss to be sustainable for over 2 years of time. So in the long term, this doesn't work. Hey, I'm glad you're joining. We've got Billy on, we got Babs. I'm so glad you guys are here. If you have any questions, definitely pop them in the chat box and let me know while we're going through this idea of weight loss to help with obesity. I think this is really juicy topic to get into today, and I would love your thoughts on that. I think it's important to recognize that weight loss through dieting doesn't work in the long term, and I'm going to give you some kind of some things to think about and some things to take to your doctor in the future, just to have in your back pocket to know, because we need that, because healthcare isn't always weight neutral in its approach. So I want you to think about it this way. Let's say you go to the doctor and they say, okay, here's your diagnosis, here's what you have, and here is an intervention, dieting, and here is an intervention, and it only works 5% of the time for the people that try it, but here you go, I want you to lose weight. That is really not, that doesn't excite me. Babs says, diet culture is so stressful. It makes us feel like we're never good enough. Yes. And that's why I'm so glad you're in this group, because it's like a daily practice to renew your mind from diet culture. So exactly like what I was saying when the doctor says, like, here you have this diagnosis, you need to lose weight. Well, here he's basically giving you a script for, here, do this for something that works 5% of the time. And I think I've said this before in the group. It's like when a doctor, you listen to them, right? They have the training, the knowledge. They say, you have this diagnosis, here's a script, take this medication, but this only works for 5% of the population. And that's what they're doing with diets when they're recommending a diet. So this typical medical model, it doesn't work for me because I know it doesn't work for you guys. And so that's why I choose to practice using a weight neutral approach, not a weight normative approach. So the good news is that there is excellent research, and I don't think this is talked about enough, but there's excellent research to support a weight neutral approach, because we focus on health behaviors in this group. You've probably heard me talk about a HAES approach, that's health at every size. And if you haven't, I'll explain a little bit about what that is. It's very promising for like chronic disease prevention. And it's really important to recognize the components of like intuitive eating and a weight neutral approach, which is what we're doing to health. It can come across as like, I've heard some people say that weight neutral approach is ignoring your health, or, intuitive eating ignores your health. I need to focus on my health, so I need to lose weight. I've heard these comments before, but in reality, what intuitive eating is doing, and what we're doing in this group, is we're taking back all those things that diet culture has taken from us. So diet culture has co-opted nutrition and exercise and basically we're taking those back and we're divorcing them from weight. We don't want to talk about weight in this group because it's not mentally helpful for us to go there either. So instead we're saying like, okay, these are the behaviors, the health behaviors that we want to pursue, and we're going to make meaningful changes in our health. We're just not going to tie it to a number in terms of our weight. So that's exactly what we're doing here. And oh, you guys, my battery's running down. Hold on for a minute. I do not want to lose you guys. Here we go. Can't lose you. So instead, we're just not going to tie our weight to success. We're going to look at our health behaviors. That's what we're doing inside of here. And so that's essentially what Health at Every Size is. HAZE is what I'll call it in the group. So it's a movement to really support people like you guys in this group to adopt healthy habits. So that's what we're working on every day. It's just adopting healthy habits for the sake of our health and the sake of our well-being, not for the sake of weight control. So it doesn't mean that weight neutral means anti-weight loss. So I do want to bring that up to you. I think there's like a little bit of confusion there, and I want to clear that up. A weight neutral approach isn't anti-weight loss. Weight loss could be an outcome of developing these healthier habits, but really a change in well-being is what we're working towards. So we're working towards health habits that help us change our well-being, and that is separately and independent of weight loss. We're not focusing on that. So it doesn't mean also, and I think it's important to say this, these are just some misconceptions that I hear all the time. It doesn't mean that everyone is healthy at every size either. It means that health is possible. Health is possible in a wider variety of sizes rather than just what's diagnosed as healthy on that BMI chart, right? Let me know if you have any questions or if that resonates with you. So I'm not anti-weight loss. That's not what I'm saying. But what we're working to do is adopt healthier habits that will have an outcome on your overall health. Because we're focusing on things that you can actually have control over. And I think this is a really important thing to understand. Like I talked about, like weight loss through dieting and focusing on that, you don't really have control over that. That's, your genetics is what has control over the size of your body. So mentally, if we focus on behaviors and habits, these are things that we can control, and mentally this is better for us. Like when we work on these health behaviors and these health habits, and we see and feel an outcome, it makes us feel better about it. So we're not focused on that number. So I guess my goal for you guys, anyone in this community, any woman that I have a conversation with, is to normalize our eating behaviors and help you develop skills to self-moderate food without the rules. And what I mean by that is like, no, you can do this. You can moderate without a diet plan. You don't need that diet plan to tell you what you need to eat, to tell your body how it feels. So I believe that you can learn how to self-moderate without those rules. And that's what drives every resource that I create, every video that when I sit down and I think about what you guys are struggling with, the reason I ask all the questions in the group, and I thank you for your feedback on that, is because you all and your struggles help me create the tools to help you. Bab says throwing the diet rules out is better. Yes, it is. It is so much better and more freeing to think about it that way. I'm eating foods now that I've excluded before, and I'm happier and healthier. Yes, That is awesome. I'm so glad to hear that, because you can learn to eat without all those rigid rules and restrictions. And, I don't believe that you have to choose either between nourishing your body and satisfying your body. I mean, I think you can have both. I don't think it has to be this dry salad with grilled chicken dressing on the side, no croutons. No, you can have a very nourishing salad and be satisfied, and you can put things on it. You don't have to restrict. You can have both. So I think this is best done by balancing knowledge of nutrition and learning that innate eating wisdom that I'm always talking about, otherwise known as intuitive eating. Talk about that a lot in this group. I think oftentimes intuitive eating gets misunderstood, that it's just all eating pizza and donuts, or it's trying to ignore your health, and that's not what it is. That's not what it is at all. It's knowing enough about food and it's learning how to eat without the rigid rules. And if you feel like you need more help with intuitive eating, or you want to know more about that, put IE in the comments and we can chat about that too. Can send you a message. I actually have a workshop that just dropped last month inside the app on gentle nutrition, where I really teach you a method called Shape Your Plate method. It's not rules. What it means is I give you some nutrition knowledge so that you have the knowledge to use with your innate eating wisdom that we're constantly working on every day. That's you listening to your body and its communication signals to you. So intuitive eating, what that is it's a model, and it's backed by research. There's actually over 140 studies now to date on intuitive eating. And this has been shown to improve health, to improve those risk factors. Things like your cholesterol, your blood pressure, and not to mention the psychological aspects of intuitive eating. Like Babs was saying, I mean, happier and healthier. Freedom is the word that comes to mind, so I use it so much. But it's also been found to improve. The scientific word in the book is called interoceptive awareness. I use the term body attunement with you guys a lot. That's tuning back into the body signals, what your body's trying to communicate to you. And the issue with diets is that we lose that. We don't trust our bodies anymore, and because we're trusting some external factor to tell us what we should or shouldn't eat, do, all the rules that diets have. And so with each diet that you go on, you distrust your body more, your body distrusts you more. So that skill of body attunement, it dies off. And I've had people say, I'm just very disconnected to my body. I can't recognize those signals anymore. So intuitive eating helps bring you back in to your innate body wisdom, to listen to those signals. It's a way to kind of relearn and recultivate what we were all born as. Children are great to watch because they know, completely trust their body. They eat whatever. It's through our lifetime and exposure to different things that we've learned to distrust our own body signals. And if you struggle with like body signals or tuning into them, just put me in the comments and we can come back and chat about that too. So there's one more thing that I don't want to leave out that intuitive eating does do, and it improves body image, which last week's coffee chat, we talked about body image, and all of this happens in the absence of focusing on weight. When we take that focus of a number of our weight out of the picture, I see so much change happen. So as a dietitian, I strongly believe in evidence-based practice, and I'm so excited because the more and more that I get into intuitive eating and research, I see more and more studies to validate this tool. Other than diets, there's just not any long-term research that validates that weight loss is a great focus, or dieting. So it's important that we recognize that intuitive eating is actually a validated tool because it is research-based, it is evidence-based, there's proof. And it's important that we use it as a tool that it's meant to be used for. And I say this because there's a lot of twisted versions of intuitive eating out there too. A lot of misconceptions around intuitive eating, and it can get twisted. So I think it's important to be in a group like this one where you're getting regular reminders to practice it daily, to clarify just what intuitive eating is, what I call food freedom. It's really, if you think of a foundation, it's based on three things, which is connection to our body, respect, body respect, and self-care. We talk about self-care so much in this group, and it's not about manicures or facials. It's about prioritizing yourself, your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, all of those things. So we live in just such a weight obsessed, appearance obsessed world. I think it's wise to just step back away from that sometimes to give you a perspective. And that's what I'm trying to do in this group, is to help you guys kind of step back and think of health as, well, it includes physical, it includes emotional, and my mental well-being. It's not just a number on the scale. And to focus on just a number on the scale can be pretty harmful. So I don't want to just leave this coffee chat today without mentioning that too, because it can be harmful to put so much emphasis on a number and a weight using some tool like the BMI scale. But that's unfortunately the world we live in, and the way that our medical system is set up. And it's not helpful. It's actually harmful. And the reason I'm saying this is because I've seen so many of you tell me, you're afraid or anxious to go to the doctor and get weighed. And because our current healthcare model puts so much emphasis on weight as a predictor of health. And it just it can cause a lot of anxiety going to the doctor, and I realize that. So let's say you have, a new diagnosis from a doctor, and you leave the office and they say you need to lose weight to be healthier. What happens, and this is why I say, it's harmful, is that you can leave the doctor and think, okay, well, I need to lose weight to be healthier. So you can think, okay, so whatever I do to lose weight, as long as it leads to this desired outcome of weight loss, is healthy. And so then it becomes like a weight loss at any cost, basically. And by emphasizing weight as a measure of health, I think that healthcare practitioners are setting people up for really disordered eating. And that's what I see a lot of when women have been dieting for decades. They're dealing with very disordered eating and disordered behaviors, and I see it all the time. It's not new. So the restriction, accounting of food, the tracking, all those things are symptoms of an actual eating disorder, but they're also patterns of disordered eating. So there's a spectrum, and we talked about that, I think it was last week too in our coffee chat, is that there's a eating disorder end of the spectrum, there's let's say there's never a perfect eater, but like an intuitive eater being on one end of the spectrum, 99% is in between. Probably everyone in this group falls in between somewhere at some point in time. So we need to broaden our horizons, not put so much emphasis on weight as a predictor of health. That was probably my main point for this coffee chat today. So if the quest for weight loss causes so much preoccupation with food, it can negatively impact your mental health, your emotional health. And I think if weight is to be discussed, it should only be one data point among many, not the only one. So I've seen too many women, just delay medical care or not go to the doctor because they don't want to talk about their weight with the doctor. They feel so much shame or so much hatred about their weight in their body because they can't seem to lose weight or keep it off. And every time they go to the doctor, it's the same thing. So my message to you today is that I hope you'll probably see much more consistency. I hear this word a lot. You'll probably see much more consistency with nutrition and with exercise and avoidance of extreme all or nothing behavior when it's not done for weight loss. Instead, if you focus on your overall health and your overall well-being and make some changes, so shifting your focus on from how you look to how you feel is going to make a huge difference. It's not about being good with food. It's about feeling good with food and with everything. So everything changes when you shift that focus. Obviously, the point of this coffee chat today was hopefully that you can see this in a different light and maybe see the value behind a weight neutral approach, learn a little bit more about what a weight neutral approach is and why I say the things that I do inside this group. What you probably are used to at the doctor is more of that weight normative approach. And I know that this is just a small drop in the bucket compared to like just a much bigger issue, but this little conversation that we had over here in the Facebook community, I hope that it helps you shift your mindset around weight and around health. And I know that this is probably something that we need to talk about on a more regular basis. I have a lot of understanding, a lot of sympathy for you guys. And I do think it'd be wonderful to shift the focus in healthcare. And I guess that's going to take a while, but I do hope at the very least that you can take some of these little nuggets today out of this coffee chat and advocate for yourself next time you go to the doctor. For example, if you're going to the doctor this week and you're anxious about maybe if they're going to weigh you or what they're going to say, I really hope that this gives you more confidence that you can advocate for what you want in terms of your approach for your health. So whether you have to be weighed or you refuse to be weighed, or maybe you say, I don't want to see my weight. There are all different types of approaches that you can take with your doctor. Maybe you accidentally see it. Maybe they accidentally tell you. I've heard that too, but there are a lot of different scenarios that I hear from women when I talk to them about, how things happen at the doctor. But I want you to keep this conversation in your back pocket, just so that you can feel more empowered. You can come back and you can listen to it again, so that you can explain next time you go to the doctor. If you get in one of these situations, you can explain that you're more worried about making meaningful changes in your health behaviors with food, with nutrition, with exercise, with overall self-care, than to be focused so much on just a weight or just a number. If they want to make it about weight, I think turning it back on them could be something to say, what are some meaningful changes that they would like to see in your health behaviors? Ask for their input, see what they can give it to you. See if they can give you something else besides just lose weight, and that'll fix everything. So see if they can join you in meeting your goals, and if they can't, it might be time to shop for another doctor at that point. But you can shift your mindset. You can choose, thankfully, for the most part, what doctors you go to feel a little more supported in this journey. And like you have your own back to navigate any conversation, whether it's with a doctor or whether it's with your family or friends, co-workers, maybe even complete strangers in a Facebook group. So I hope that today, this coffee chat, just thank you guys for joining me, and I hope it gave you a new perspective, or it gave you some more ammunition for conversations that you can have with people to help advocate for your health. Hopefully, it gave you some talking points, things that you can use in the future. And if it was helpful for you, what you can do for me is just share this coffee chat with somebody, invite a friend to this group, or just leave me a comment below. Thanks, Babs. I'm so glad that you were able to join and make it today. So I'm so glad that I didn't get cut off. But yeah, if you would like some more support in the process and finding food freedom, if you're catching the replay later, I would love for you to check out the Food Confidence Club, which is a monthly membership with tools to support you guys. And right now we're going through, I have some daily prompts in the app that just help you a little more through the holidays, because I know it gets rough this time of year leading into January. So I'm here. You guys know where to reach me. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening or afternoon. Bye, guys.